is the federal surplus property program. One of my employees, Scott Harrison, he is the federal allocation officer. You can reach him on it with his information right here. He's mainly the person that does this program, and he is incredibly knowledgeable and works hard for the communities. So we're going to go ahead and start off with a little introduction of what is the federal surplus property program. Basically, back in 1949, after World War II, the United States had a lot of surplus property. Because of that surplus property, they decided to get rid of it through public auction or to help out public agencies and state agencies. There's a few federal laws that allow us to actually do this. We've got a plan of operation, which is actually on our website, which we'll get to in a few minutes. And where does the property come from? Now, right now, and you can read this, but most of our property comes from federal agencies, military bases here in Alaska. Members of this program, which we'll get into how to become a member in a few minutes, are able to search nationwide for surplus property. And if they find something outside of Alaska that they want, we can go ahead and acquire that for them and make the donation to them. But the donee, as we call them, has to pay for the shipping up here to Alaska. That's a little prohibitive sometimes, especially if you're in a rural community. It can get pretty expensive. Who's eligible? Right now, 8As are eligible. State and public agencies, veteran-owned small businesses, certain nonprofits, basically nonprofits that provide healthcare, education, programs for the elderly, impoverished, and homeless can be eligible for this program. Sometimes it takes a little bit more than normal documentation to get them signed up, but they can get signed up. And native villages and native corporations, which is big in Alaska, are eligible for this. And certain special interests to the armed forces is also eligible. What kind of equipment is available? Well, we get all kinds of stuff: heavy equipment, motorized vehicles, marine equipment, vessels, aviation. A little while back, we actually donated to UAF. I want to say it was 24 drones that came out of the Army or Air Force's surplus. And they're able to use these drones for educational purposes, plus to improve their programs up there. We get a lot of building materials, firefighting equipment, hand tools, power tools. For some reason, we get a lot of musical instruments, and then also a lot of gym equipment. Every time the military bases revamp their gyms, we end up getting all their equipment. And there's a website we're going to go to. I'm going to actually change over to this website here real quick. And we're going to look through the website and what you can see. You should be able to see now the federal surplus property website. You can copy the URL. We're going to talk a little bit about what you can do on here. And basically, a lot of the information I'm telling you is already on here. You can read this all in detail. And there's also a place where you can see the current property inventory. We're going to look there real quick. This is stuff that we have pulled into our warehouse, or we have actual signed for, that we're able to donate to nonprofits and municipalities. We have a giant grinder that's out there. We do have some buildings that are on Fort Richardson. They're still available. These are full buildings. A fire truck that's sitting out back right now, if you know anybody that needs a fire truck. Generators, heaters. I'm not even sure what that is. An expansion tank. And then we do have a lot of extreme cold weather gear, which we get quite a bit because the Army's always revamping their clothing. and we get extreme parkas, you name it, and all kinds of program or all kinds of different property come through this program. And we're going to switch over to a different one. We've actually got the application, which I'm going to look at. We'll look at right here for a second. To become a part of this program, there's an application process, which is pretty in-depth, especially for nonprofits. Municipalities, it's pretty easy to get into. I'm going to open this up a little wider. Basically, you just need to fill this out, your organization, mailing address, and down here are different categories that are eligible. We have public agencies, nonprofit organizations. If you don't find something that your organization falls into, you'll definitely need to talk to Scott Harrison, and he'll be able to try and get the kind of documentation you're going to need to sign up for the program. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it does need to be filled out completely. And one of the big things is the narrative. Basically, it's describing the population you serve, the number of individuals you serve, and stuff that the nonprofit or municipality does. This is key when it comes to getting nonprofit certified. Municipalities and native corporations usually have no problems, or tribal entities have no problem getting certified. And then once that's done, you also have to have a list of representatives that are able to get property through Scott. Most agencies only have one or two people that are able to get property through the program. That way they're able to control it. There are a lot of requirements when it comes to receiving the property, and how long you get to keep it, and how long you can actually hold on to it, and have to hold on to it for requirements. Museums can actually even sign up for this, and this is a whole different ball game. We won't really get into that. And you've got the statement. Basically, it tells you, you're stating that you're not going to misuse this property, sell it, or anything like that outside of the regulations. And once you become a member, you'll get full details on what restrictions there are. Actually, the form tells most of it. But there are time limits that you have to keep the property for. And all the way down here at the bottom, this is really important. It requires the head of the organization to sign it. We have a lot of times somebody that just wants to get into the program. They've got, they belong to this organization, but we definitely need the head of the organization's signature on this to make that happen. And going out through this program, filling it out, Scott can help you out quite a bit on this if you have any questions. But we try to make it so the donees are applying for it. And we're going to go ahead and jump back over here to the slideshow. Right here it says the only people authorized to sign it are the director, chief, CEO, president, or higher of the organization, and it must be completely filled out and sent in to Scott Harrison. Hold on, there we go. What to expect once you're deemed eligible, you receive the approved eligibility memorandum, and the organization will receive or be able to receive federal property. You'll receive a link to, actually you already have the link, it's open to the public, the current federal property inventory. And then you'll also get logins to GSA Access. This is the federally ran computer program that shows everything nationwide that is in the federal surplus program. You can actually shop all over the nation, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, all 50 states, and find stuff that you could possibly use but it requires you to pay for shipping from its destination point. Yeah, GSA Access is pretty involved website. It's pretty easy to use. Basically, you would go into the GSA Access, you look through it. I'm not the website's a little bit too complicated to throw up here, but you go through, you find stuff that you want, you make sure it's in Alaska, and then once you find that property, you go ahead and request it through Scott, and he'll do the needed paperwork to pull that property and get it pulled and bring it over, either bring it over here to our warehouse so you can pick it up, or you may have to come with Scott on the post or myself to pick it up from the Defense Logistics Agency on Fort Richardson. But their moniker is Defense Logistics Agency, but they handle all federal surplus for the state of Alaska. And like I said earlier, you can screen property worldwide. We're located down here on Viking Drive. If you have any questions, you can either give Scott Harrison a call or send an email to go over it a little bit more. I'm going to figure out how to stop sharing so I can answer any questions everybody might have. We're just going to close this out. All right, are there any questions? Let me get back to this.
There's a question posted. Is there some way online to determine if your organization has already been qualified as eligible and who the internal contact is?
No, there is not, but you can call Scott Harrison and he can look into the database and see who, or look up your organization and see if it's already been submitted to the program. There is a renewal every 3 years. Organizations need to renew, and a lot of times, everyone gets so excited about it when they first get into the program, and then after 3 years, nobody's really using it anymore, and they forget, and it lapses, and they have to go through the same process again. And you did hear. Let me see the next one. There are yearly reporting requirements, but they're pretty simple. They're not hugely in depth, and there are. Scott will occasionally just do a stop by to check on the equipment to make sure it's being used as deemed by the program. And yeah, there are a few requirements. Most property you only have to keep for 18 months. Once the value goes up to, I believe, $50,000, there's a little bit more requirements to keep, especially when it comes to aircraft and vessels. Those can get into being worth millions of dollars, and the federal government kind of wants to keep track on those a little bit longer than they do the rest of the property. But in general, once you actually are donated the property, you would have to keep the property for 18 months. And there is a small donation fee that we charge. Basically, it's an administrative fee for our time. It's usually between 1 to 10% of the original cost of the property. A good example of this is about 3 years ago, we got in a wretch, which is a big 56,000 pound loader that has the connection on the front of it to lift up connexes. It goes into the pineapple holes, locks in, and is able to lift connexes up to 56,000 pounds. This piece of equipment was only 10 years old and only had about 100 miles or 100 hours on it. So it barely got used. And the donating fee for that was $35,000. And the original purchase value was $350,000. So the community out in Bristol Bay that actually went ahead and through the process and acquired this property paid less for this loader than they paid to get it shipped out to their community. So it's a pretty good program. There's lots and lots of stuff that comes through. There's a lot of entities in the program. So sometimes equipment will come up that everybody wants, and then we have to make a decision on who ends up getting it. But it's usually pretty fair, and yeah. And you did hear correctly. Nonprofits are eligible, and we'll go back over that real quick. Nonprofits that provide healthcare, educational services, programs for the elderly, impoverished, and or homeless are eligible for the program. One of the programs that I know a couple of the rehab centers here in Anchorage actually are part of the program, and we do have a few other smaller nonprofits that provide educational and healthcare programs. Were there any more questions? Looks like we just have two.
And yep, any other questions? Anybody? Anyone else? Oh, somebody's raised their hand. Okay. Nathan, you're allowed to unmute and talk.
Hey, Jonathan. Hi, Vicky. I'm sorry I was like 10 or 12 minutes late, but I just got back from lunch and I wrote down the federal surplus property program with Scott Harrison and I got a phone number.
Mhm.
I see that eligible organizations, and I think the one we'd be under is native villages slash corporations.
Yes.
And
What
what kind of things were you guys talking about? What would be eligible or
native tribal entities are eligible, and so are native corporations. You can go to this website right here. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat, and this explains it a lot more in detail. Our whole website, who's eligible, and what there is out in the system, and there is an email in there, and I'll give you that email too to email Scott to get a little bit more information if you need.
Jonathan, can you provide me with a PDF of the slides?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, then I will that was a question that came in, and I will make that available through the TTAP website under the information that also has a link to this webinar.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, this is a great program. We're able to help out nonprofits and municipalities and native corporations and native communities all across the state. Our goal is to get everybody signed up that we possibly can. There's some great items that come through. One of the big things that seems to come through that you won't actually find on the GSA Access is a lot of federal agencies, when they move to a new office, they get all new furniture. Must be nice. Well, their old furniture, they contact us, and we're able to reach out to our donees and say, hey, this is what they've got over there. If you want something, let us know. Come on over and we'll pick it up. We did that with the new FAA, or the old FAA building. They had the whole building was just full of office furniture, cubicles, and basically we got to go through and take all the stuff that they were leaving there and donate it to our donees. And it was a pretty watershed moment for a lot of the nonprofits that were able to come in and get that. All right. Do we have any other questions? Anybody else?
There's two more questions. One is,
Okay.
Is FCC eligible transmitter radio and EAS surplus available through you?
Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
FCC eligible transmitter radio and EAS surplus available through your program?
If it's turned into the DLA or the federal surplus program, it is eligible. Some property is still militarized, and in those cases we're not able to get those, but most transmitters we should be able to get. If it's something that's available normally to the public, it will end up going through the program. And we actually also all the state surplus goes through our office also, and that's we can work with nonprofits and municipalities to help them avoid the whole auction site or the whole having to bid on everything to get state surplus property. But you can contact me, and I'll put my address in here and my email, and you can contact me directly if you want to look into that other program.
And the other question is, when did they stop the free shipping?
The federal government decided that they weren't going to do that anymore about 4 years ago, or 3 years ago. I'm sorry. It was just getting too much for them, and they just budget cutbacks. They stopped doing the shipping.
All right. Are organizations able to donate into this program?
No. What type of organization would you be talking about?
No.
We may be able to help you out with a different one. Who is this? Colin?
Yeah.
And he's probably typing.
Okay.
Well, I'll just go into it.
City of Bethel.
The city of Bethel. No, but if you shoot me an email to the jonathan.harshfield@alaska.gov, I can help you out with an organization that you can get rid of your surplus through. It's who we use for the state, and they're a NASPO contract, and it's a zero cost contract, so municipalities should be able to sign up for it pretty easy. And I'll shoot you all their information. It's govdeals.com. Actually, we've been using them for about 10 years, and they've done a great job helping us get rid of our surplus property. We run auctions this is for the state side. We run auctions for 7 days on their platform. We don't pay any cost at all to use their platform. Buyers, when they come in, it goes into an auction. It runs for 7 days usually. That's what we set ours up for. And when the buyer wins it, they have to pay a buyer's premium. That's, I believe, 10%, and that's how GovDeals actually make their money off the buyer, not the host. And then we also charge a 2.5% administrative fee that comes back to us, that you could also, as a host, also do that. The site address, yeah. Let me grab that real quick. Is this the address you were talking about, Martha? The OPPM federal surplus property? Yeah, I think that's what she was looking for. All right, did I miss any other questions? I don't think so. Is there anything else?
Martha, if you want to, I'll hit allowed you to talk. So if you have anything more, you can unmute and follow up with that. If not, any other questions? Okay, that Martha confirmed that is the oppm.doa.alaska.gov property URL is what she was looking for again.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
so yeah, it's a good program, and it definitely can help out nonprofits, municipalities, native corporations, and veteran-owned businesses across the state. And our goal is to try not to let any piece of equipment from the federal surplus program go to auction, because we can donate it to you guys and help out quite a bit.
How long does it stay with you on your site before it goes to auction?
We the way it works is it goes through the GSA Access site. It's usually on the site for 20 days. If nobody pulls it from the site in 20 days, that's Scott would end up being the person to pull it. Then it goes into an auction, a national auction. I forget the auction firm, but the Ritchie Brothers is part of this organization. Some of you may know their auction sites, but it's usually on the GSA Access site for 20 days. If we pull it and actually have it over here in our inventory, because sometimes we'll come across a piece of equipment and Scott will be like, I know one of my communities could use this, but they haven't asked for it. So he'll go ahead and pull it and we'll bring it over here. And we usually keep it for about 18 months before it ends up going onto the federal auction site. So it's a pretty good program. The equipment's out there for quite a while for people to look at. And the key thing is just to get on there about every, once a week, every 2 weeks. That way you can see what's going on and what's coming through the system.
Okay, there's a clarification that so you said to keep equipment, you're required to keep equipment for so many years or so. What is after that period? Then the community can dispose of it if they have to?
They can, yes. Most equipment is 18 months is the required time that you have to keep it and use it for its intended purposes. After that 18 months, that piece of equipment goes out of our program and it's completely owned by the community, and the community can do what they want with it.
Okay. All right. I don't know if that's not what you meant by your question. Please clarify. Hopefully that did answer what your question was. Okay, that was the answer. Good.
All right, that works.
All right. Well, last call for anyone to have additional questions. Feel free to reach out, as Jonathan said, to him or to Scott for more in-depth issues with filling out the application or inquiries about whether your organization is involved.
Mm-hmm.
And if
And
that,
yeah, we're
Jonathan,
here
go ahead.
5 days. We're here Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you need to call or if you want to just go ahead and email us, we are pretty responsive to most emails. And if you have any questions about filling out the application, Scott's more than willing to work with you and help you get through the application process.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I will. Did something else get posted? I will stop recording